Okay, so now we're going to talk about the story because the most powerful thing that you have is your story. So your story slash information is the second step in the process, right? So the first step is the approach, and the person's interested, they're open, and then the second step is the story information. So it could be that you sent them a video first, or maybe you're in person with them and you would tell your story first, okay? So it's always best to get into a position to tell your story as soon as you possibly can. So at the point you get comfortable enough and want to, even on the phone, you can begin telling some of your story, because that is the thing that is most powerful. Absolutely. People do not resist stories. They do resist information when it's coming from you. And not that there's anything wrong with you, but that's just the nature of people, because they feel then that they're in the sales process. A story doesn't feel that way because people don't critically analyze stories like they critically analyze information. See, when you're giving information, this is why it's beautiful that you don't have to be an expert in anything to do this. That's what the information tools are for. People don't argue with tools, especially third-party tools. But when you're telling a story, they're not critically listening to you. They're involved emotionally in the story. That's how we're wired. We're wired to see things and hear things in stories. And that's, if I say, I was walking down the beach with my wife, you don't see those words go across your brain. You immediately envision something, right? I mean, that's the nature of how our brains work. And so stories are powerful, and they provide hope for people. And so in the process book is a complete map on how to make your story. And so again, go back through that. But the thing that I want to stress here is that your story right now is good enough, because it's very easy to think, well, I don't have this great story. I didn't beat cancer with the products, or I didn't become Hercules with the products, or I didn't make $10,000 a month yet, or I didn't. That doesn't matter. I mean, that stuff's not relatable, right? So the bigger your story gets, the less relatable it is. Bottom line is, everybody is struggling with something, and you're offering them hope because you found something to help you with your struggle. I mean, it's really not any harder than that. And so in general, to get into the position to tell your story, whether you're by phone or whether you're in person, you ask why someone is open, right? You just ask, so why, I know that you have tried to lose weight. Tell me a little bit about that, right? Or tell me why you're still looking, and let them. So why and what are two great things to ask. Why are you open, and what have you tried, right? And that allows that person to begin sharing, and that's good information for you to be receiving, because you can address some of what they say in your story. And I'll explain how that works as I go through. So the story breaks down into 5 parts. The first part of your story is, what was the problem you were trying to solve, right? And again, I'm going to give you the connection all the way through. So the reason it's powerful to identify that is, first of all, that's interesting. I mean, when you watch a TV show of some sort, what is it? It's a problem. I mean, there's always a problem. There's a problem right away, and that's what's interesting. There's the problem. How are they going to solve it? How's this going to play out, right? And so you share what your problem was. I was so sick of not having any energy, or I was so sick of the way I felt, or I was so sick of dealing with this, or I was so tired of struggling with money, right? People are like, they got their own stuff going on. It might not be your exact problem, but it's not relevant. It's not even relevant. What's relevant is that you had a problem you were trying to solve, right? Because that then connects to the fact that they too have a problem that they're trying to solve right now, in this very moment. That you are sitting with them or talking to them, they're in the process of trying to solve their problems. And in many cases, they've lost hope, and you're going to bring that back to them. And so then the second part of it is, and by the way, a problem doesn't have to be a bad thing. I should have said that at first. It doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a desire, right? It can be something they want to accomplish. It can be anything that they're trying to solve. That's the definition of a problem, is something you're trying to solve. A math problem is not necessarily negative unless you hate math. It's just something to solve, right? So it's something that you're trying to solve. And so they can connect because there's things they're trying to solve. Next is the journey you went on. This is a really crucial part, because in this part of your story, you shouldn't skimp on it. Matter of fact, you should really flesh it out completely so that you know every part and corner that you could include. Because let's say weight has been a problem for you and you've been on a journey to solve it. Now you're using Body Smart and you're excited about what's happening. I'll bet you've had quite a journey, right? I'll bet you've struggled with it. It's made you feel bad. I'll bet you've had times where it's affected your self-esteem, right? It's even affected your relationships because of how you felt, right? This is just true stuff. I'm not afraid to be real. We have to be real. So there's all kinds of things, and it's important to identify those because this totally is relatable for the other person, because someone's journey to solve their problem isn't on the surface. It's deep. It's really deep, because whatever the problem, let's say it's money is the problem. People say it's okay, I got a money problem. I had anxiety about a money problem. No, they have anxiety because they are awfulizing the money problem, right? What's going to happen if I can't do this? And then what does that mean? And how does it make me feel as a human being that I can't even take care of my family? And people go on. And I'm telling the truth because you do it too. I do it. We all do it. And so in the journey, you got to talk about the things you have tried and how all that made you feel. Because, man, these are boom, boom, boom connections. People are relating to you big time, and they're being drawn in. See, the power of a story versus information is when you start doing a presentation, right, people start backing up, right? But when you start telling a story and you share in your heart, people start leaning in. They're leaning in, right? And they're involved in the story, and they're beginning to make relations to themselves and connections. And so you tell them the journey that you went on. Then you tell them how you discovered this. And this is awesome stuff right here, because what you're able to do here is multiple things. One, you share that somebody introduced this to you. So you tell them how that happened, right? Because you still tell the story, so you can't just go, and then I found this and got started. That'd be like leaving out a whole chapter of the book, right? So you say, and then my friend Carol called me up and she started telling me what had happened to her, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, that sounds just like me, and then she started explaining things about it to me, and right, you got a couple things here. One, you're able to share her story, right? Carol's story, if you want to, or Carol could have told you about someone else, and you share that story if you want to. I do. I mean, I'm a storyteller, right? That's because I know that's what to do. I didn't grow up as a storyteller. I learned it by doing this, because stories are what we've been doing our whole life, right? If you went to school and didn't have your homework, what did you do? You told a story, right? You've been telling stories your whole life. You've been telling your parents, your spouse, your kids, right? You tell stories in the workplace. You tell stories everywhere. So this is normal stuff. And so you're at this time making a connection with them at an intersection, because you're telling them how you discovered it at the very moment they're in their journey connecting with you and they're discovering it. This is incredible stuff that I'm giving you right here. It's so powerful, and it's so easy, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun to do this. And so what you're doing is you're giving them hope. Suddenly they have hope. And in some cases, I'm going to tell you, in some cases, that moment is the first time that person has had hope in a while. You take a second to digest that. That is some powerful stuff. So you're providing hope at the same time you're sharing and intersecting with their story. So then the next thing that you do, the fourth piece of the story, is you share what attracted you to this. And this is another awesome part. So if I was going to give you a presentation, for example, about Life Plus's business, right? I would tell you how there's no sign-up fee, there's no kit to buy, which is all great information. But I'm still giving you information while you're back like this, right? But if I say, and then when Carol was telling me about it, and she was telling me there was no sign-up fee and there was no kit to buy, I couldn't believe it. I never heard of anything like that. What do you think is going on in the brain of the person you're talking to? They're like, I never heard of anything like that either. That's unbelievable, right? They're discovering it with you at this point. This is incredible stuff, because now they've already now got hope. They're already intersected with you, and they're starting to see what you saw. And you can see the same with the products, right? I mean, I found out that the way they made these products, that you can't get products like these, right? They only use live ingredients and they don't bake them. They're cold processed. And this company that nobody knows about makes them at pharmaceutical grade. I didn't even know what that meant. I found out that that's the only kind of product someone should be using. You're not saying to them, hey, you should only use pharmaceutical grade products. You're saying, I learned I should only use pharmaceutical grade products. It's unbelievable the difference between doing it those two ways. So you include in your story the things that attracted you, right? And here's where you go back to whatever they shared with you earlier, right? When they shared with you that they tried this and this and they didn't like this and this happened. You basically include that it wasn't like those things without pointing out it was their things, right? And I learned it wasn't like blah, 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 right? I didn't have to blah, blah, blah. And then people are like, oh, it's not like the thing I was thinking it might be like. And another thing that you do right here is you make it safe for them to say yes. And you haven't even asked them yet, but you make it safe. And you do that by saying, and then when I learned that there was no sign-up fee and that I could try the products direct from the manufacturer at the wholesale price, the same price my friend was paying for them, and if I didn't like them, I could send it back. I'm like, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I do that? What you've just done is make them go, yeah, why wouldn't I do that, right? That's without saying, hey, why wouldn't you do that? Because if you say, why wouldn't you do that, then they'll have answers for that. But if you say, this is what I did because, and it was the smartest thing to do, they'll be thinking, wow, that's the smartest thing to do. And so it's just, this is why it works. And then the last thing is your experience, which is really like opening up sunshine for them, right? You talk about the incredible people in our community. You talk about the things you're learning. You talk about how much better you feel. You talk about how much more effective you're becoming even in your work. You talk about how your life is changing, right? Because that's what we do, right? We change people's lives. And so now they're becoming inspired. They're starting to believe that this could be an answer for them, right? And what's going to happen when you finish your story and you sit back a little bit, either on phone or in person, is one of three things. They're either going to go, man, that sounds awesome, but I don't think that's for me. And you know what you do? Nothing. You let it be okay, right? You let it be okay. Because when you let it be okay and you guys then, chat a little bit more and then you go your separate ways, they're going to spend a lot of time wondering what they missed. If you tried to convince them and they hold back, then they're going to feel like they won and they're going to dismiss you. Not to mention, they're going to feel like you pressured them and that changed the game. All right? But you letting it be okay makes them wonder what they missed. And when they wonder what they missed, they're going to think about you frequently. And they're going to be wide open next time you talk to them because you didn't pressure them, and they'll never, and I mean never, forget the story. Never. And that's powerful. The second thing that's going to happen is they're immediately going to have questions. So how does it work? So where do you get the product, right? Or tell me more about the product, or tell me how you get paid, or how would I do it? These are called involvement questions. What they're telling you right now is answer this because I'm pretty much ready. That's what they're telling you, right? They're involved in their mind. And then the last thing you would do is there would be silence. And some people process a lot, so they're silent. Let them be silent for a second and then say, so does this sound like something you might be interested in? That's pretty easy. They'll say yes or no, but they're going to say yes in this point. And then you'll get into the questions. And then you'll say, hey, what do you need to know? Pretty simple. Follow that. You follow that recipe, you'll have so much fun. You won't be able to wait to talk to people, right? You can't wait to meet with people when it's like this, because every time you meet with someone, even by phone or by Skype or by Zoom or by whatever you do, FaceTime, whatever it is, or having a cup of coffee, it's so natural and comfortable and everybody is happy about it. Nobody is upset about it. And you enjoy yourself and they enjoy the time with you. So even if they don't participate, they will speak very highly of you and be open to giving you referrals and be totally open for the next time you reach out to them, because you will in the future. There you go. Hope that was helpful for you.